This is Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV, the viewer's guide to genre television for the weeks of September 27th to October 31st, 2025.
Hello, everyone. I'm Kevin Batchelder.
I'm Wendy Hembrock.
And I'm Brent Barrett.
All right, and welcome back, folks. We got a chock-full show to catch you up on, discuss many shows and some news items, and some fun stuff, too. Since it's been a couple of weeks since we last released a podcast, we do have a couple of polls to catch you up on some results. We had one asking about the show Alien Earth and what you folks thought of it. And on that one, we had two answers end up being tied for the top choice. Either I enjoyed it and would like to see another season, or those of you who said you did not watch it, but you do plan to watch it. So I take those both as good to see.
Yep, and I'm part of the tie, as I have not seen it yet, but I plan to watch it.
Yeah, of the 22 votes, only 6 of them came in negative. 1 who didn't like it, and then 5 who said they don't ever plan to watch it. I guess that's considered negative too. So I think overall positive. Good.
Yeah. Yes, I think so. I agree. The other poll that we ran was, when would you like a new Star Trek series to be set? You know, you get to play showrunner there, folks. Several choices, and again, we had another tie in this one. The two choices that tied, the first one was between the end of Voyager and the future of Discovery, or I don't have a preference at all. Those both ended up being tied for the top choice.
So again, I voted for one of these. I don't have a preference. I voted for that. And then I actually voted for the second tie, which was between the end of TOS and the end of Voyager.
Yeah, that's the one I voted for. That wasn't a tie. That's the one I voted for, too. I voted for the Voyager and the Future Discovery period, which would put it, at the same time as shows like Lower Decks would appear in that time period. But I also picked, because it's multiple choice, between the end of TOS and Voy, which would put it anywhere during the TNG sort of era, anywhere in that realm. In fact, even some stuff that predates TNG but is post the original series. So I like the older stuff. I don't want to go into the far future. I don't like it so far that we've seen in Discovery. It's like, this doesn't feel like Star Trek to me. So anything, go back a little bit and I'll be happy.
Yeah, excellent. I think I went with I don't have a preference. So it was good to see. Those ones it was almost, or actually all of the choices you had in here, someone had a vote on. So there was definitely some interest across the board.
Yeah, it was just our tie for 1 and 2, and then our tie for 3 and 4 were interesting.
Yeah.
There too. Well, we appreciate Brent's hard work putting those polls in there, folks. So part of the fun of the Discord that we're always talking up.
If you guys want to see the numbers that we keep talking about, those polls will exist probably forever up on our Discord in the polls channel. So just go up there and you can look at the old polls and see how people voted.
Absolutely. Another fun thing to do while you're there. And also tying it into our Discord, we have another giveaway we're going to do for you folks. This one also through the help of a very generous listener, Doug, who you've heard leave us a voice message. We previously did the Stargate giveaway. And this time, Doug is being very generous, and he has a set of Farscape DVDs, again, gently used, but it's all seasons in box sets, a slim version for season 2, and it also includes Peacekeeper Wars, so you got the whole kit and caboodle, as they say there. So like we did on the last giveaway, to enter, got to go to our Discord and go to the contest channel. We'll have a fun question in there just as a way to give you a jumping off point to post there, and then we'll randomly pick a winner. Got to get your entry in there by December the 5th.
Thank you, Doug. This is really nice. And if folks don't have the Farscape DVDs, they're really nice DVDs, and they really hold up. The production value is great. So I hope somebody is excited about these as I would be if I didn't already have them.
Yeah, thank you very much, Doug. I'm in the same boat as Wendy. Normally I would want this myself, but I already have 3 sets of Farscape DVDs and Blu-rays. I actually bought 2 sets of DVDs and 1 set of the Blu-rays back when we were doing, of course, the Farscape podcast. I needed it for audio and clips and the such. So I've got so many Farscape DVD cases on my wall back here that I wouldn't have room for it. But I'm sure it'll make somebody very happy because it really is a great show.
It is. And again, big thanks to Doug there. And also the details will be in the blog post, on our website and all. But a reminder, this is only available to ship to U.S. addresses. All right, that should wrap us up here. Let's get ready to move over to our spoiler-free water cooler.
So, you're still hanging on to that tiny thread of denial, trying to convince yourself that sci-fi has nothing whatsoever to do with your life. Well, you better think again, Sparky. That tiny cell phone has no basis in Starfleet communicators. Those hands-free earpieces now used by virtually everybody didn't come down from the ear of Lieutenant Uhura. And that cute little Rumba vacuum cleaner that you use far too infrequently wasn't hijacked off an Imperial Star Cruiser. Nah, not a chance. Because if it were true, then you would be forced to turn on that Flash Gordon-inspired box on your desk called a computer and listen to SliceOfSci-Fi.com, the podcast and XM satellite radio show that will turn your sci-fi into reality.
All right, kicking things off, we have our quick reviews, and in this we'll be looking at shows that aired between September the 29th and October the 31st, Halloween. First one in here is going to be Gen V, Season 2. We're looking at the final episodes of Season 2. We have Episode 5, The Kids Are Not All Right. Episode 6, Cooking Lessons. Episode 7, Hell Week. And Episode 8, the season finale, Trojan. For me, I'd put these all in the High Watch It Soon category.
For me, I would put them all in the Watch It Soon category.
Yeah, I just watched the entire Season 2 over the last 2 days just to catch up because I had forgotten before. And I'd give the entire Season 2 a High Watch It Soon.
Alrighty. We also had Peacemaker finish out its second season. We had 2 episodes here. We had Episode 7, Like a Keith in the Night, and Episode 8, Full Nelson, which was the season finale here. I would go on these. I would go low Watch It Now and then High Watch It Soon.
I would give them both High Watch It Soon.
I'm going to give both of these a low Watch It Now.
All right. And we also had the return of our fun comedy Ghosts. We're into Season 5 now. We had Episode 1, Soul Custody. Episode 2, Viking Wedding. And Episode 3, the Halloween episode, Halloween 5, The Mummy, as I titled it. I would give these Watch It Soon, and a High Watch It Soon.
I think I would agree, although, yeah, I would. Watch It Soon, High Watch It Soon.
Yeah, I'm going to be the contrarian. It's interesting how we all love the show, and comedy is, we've said many times, hits everybody a little differently. I would say the first of the 3, I'd give a High Watch It Soon. But the second 2, I just give a regular Watch It Soon. All
righty. We also had Season 4 of The Witcher drop on Netflix. And, this, like most of the shows we're quick reviewing, we'll be talking about in the back porch. But for me, I would say this was just over Watch It Soon into High Watch It Soon for me.
So I've only seen the first 2 episodes, and I would give them a High Watch It Soon.
Yeah, I saw the whole season, and I had some nitpicks, which we'll go over in the back porch. But overall, yeah, I agree with both of you. High Watch It Soon.
All right, and also very quietly, Netflix also dropped a movie entitled The Rats: A Witcher Tale, which does tie into that final season. And I only stumbled across it because it was recommended when you finish the series, so I'm not even sure many of you are aware it's out there. I don't remember them talking much about it. I did watch it. As I said, it's a movie length, probably an hour and 30 minutes thereabouts. didn't enjoy it as much as I wanted to. I'd just say it's a let it sit.
I have not seen it.
Yeah, I just heard about it right now, Kevin. And but based on the title, The Rats, I don't know that I really want to see it because The Rats was like the least interesting part of this entire season to me.
Yeah, and maybe we'll touch on that a little bit in our back porch discussion. All right, moving over, let's talk about some news items, and we do also have a listener feedback to go kick things off here. We've got a voicemail from Jesse Jackson in Dallas, Texas. He's talking about the Lost Habits Tuner Minute.
You know, when Chris, my son, was younger, went to the movies a lot, right? We would go, and that would be his and mine time together. We would often go to a movie and then get pizza, Little Caesar pizza, because he loved it and it was cheap. Always get popcorn and a soda. And even now, when I am trying to limit soda for health reasons, I usually get a Diet Coke at the theater when I go. I don't go very often anymore. I went for Superman. And I'm going for Delivery from Nowhere, the Bruce Springsteen film that's coming out. In fact, I'm going to go see it 2 or 3 times because, hey, I'm a mark. We went and saw Wicked. So it has to be an event film that I want to see on the... Most other movies, I'm just as happy at the house with your high-def TV, and you're sitting there just comfortable in the living room, and just, it is less stress, and it's certainly cheaper. But there is something special about going to see Superman opening weekend and getting my Diet Coke, getting my popcorn, loving the previews. More previews, the better. I love seeing them, and then watching the film.
Hey, thanks, Jesse. Shout out Little Caesars. Wow. Nice flashback there. I agree. I do, similar to you, need it to be sort of an event to go to the movies. My family, we like to actually go to the movies frequently, either around Thanksgiving or Christmas time. For a while, it used to be the Harry Potter movies were often coming out at that time, or before that it was Lord of the Rings, and then I think after that might have been Hunger Games. You know, wanting to see it on the big screen. So appreciate your call and your comments. I also agree that it's just a lot simpler to watch stuff at home and be able to get up and pause when you need to. I do love seeing trailers though, but I don't need 30 minutes of them. I wish they would kind of cut that back a little bit. Great to hear from you. Thanks. I hope you enjoyed the Bruce film as well.
Yeah, thanks, Jesse. I mentioned what movies I had been to in our last discussion, but Little Caesars, yeah, that does bring back some memories because my wife kind of, I think, she really loves it, so I think she must have had it a lot as a kid in New York. Recently, and we had it a lot when we were a young, struggling couple. You know, we didn't have a lot of money. That would be a meal. Like once a week, we'd get a Little Caesars because it's very cheap. But she recently had a craving, so I had to go get it for her. With their system of their automation system is amazing there, by the way. You don't even have to talk to anybody. It's just crazy. So you're going to the Bruce movie 3 times. I guess that's 3 Diet Cokes, Jesse? Or are you just going to have one and consider one for the whole movie, for each instance of the movie? I mean, I'm guessing you're going to have 3. Your little cheat, like you said, for the soda that you're not supposed to have anymore. Great hearing from you. Thank you very much for your answers.
Yeah, always awesome to hear from you, Jesse. Thank you. And, you know, for me, it's definitely very much become movie time is really only really big event or something that really catches my eye. Again, because of the costs and, you know, being able to do so much more at home. You know, that, I mean, I'm thinking about the Mandalorian and the Grogu movie come in the spring. Maybe that one I'll try to do it. My son-in-law, he's a pretty good sized sci-fi fan. So every now and then there'll be one and he'll just, you know, invite me and want to go. And that's certainly a good time to go do it. But since otherwise it's mainly just me going, it's got to be really special to want to venture out to do that, as we've all said, with the abilities we have to do it in a nice setup at home. So
now, Kevin, you're retired, and there is a thing called cheap movies on Tuesdays for retirees.
The AMC around here started to shuffle their program, which is the closest really nice theater to me. They used to have like $5 Tuesdays or something close.
Yeah.
They're kind of changing it a little bit and all, so I'm waiting for the dust to settle. That might be something I go back to, very honestly, Wendy, for just that reason, now that I do have a little more time, especially during the days. Keeping an eye on what they're going to do. It's kind of in flux right now, I saw on their website. So, but also, there aren't many of the movies that I'm even like at a good price that I want to go, the effort. It's corny as it sounds, but, maybe that'll change.
No, I understand. And I actually almost went to see Spirited Away. They just had a re-release of it at our it's a more of a art house kind of movie theater. I mean, they show the blockbuster stuff too, but they'll often have special presentations as well, and they just had Spirited Away undubbed with just subtitles, which is one of my favorite movies, and I almost went to that.
Yeah, for me, in a similar vein, there's now an Alamo Draft House about an hour away from where I live, fairly new here in it's actually in downtown Boston, and they have a screening of Back to the Future for the anniversary.
Oh. Fun.
And there's going to be like a host and some other stuff, and that looked like it would be fun. I mean, the tickets were like $27 each, so it's not cheap. But that's kind of an event thing that I was seriously thinking about. It's going to conflict with some family plans, so I kind of had to rule it out. It's a one-night only kind of thing. But I do keep an eye on what the Alamo Draft House is doing, because when they bring back some of those classics, by all means, that's the kind of stuff I might go to too.
Sure.
Have you ever been to an Alamo Draft House, Kevin?
I have not, but I've talked to people who have.
Okay. It's different.
and that's part of what I want to go, because the one here in Boston is fairly new. It hasn't been here that long. But, I'm on their email list. I do keep an eye. And some of the photos on their YouTube channel have showed some of the events they do for other things. Like they were doing, not that I'm going to go, but they were doing a K-pop Demon Hunters sing-along event and other stuff. So it's a chance to do some fun stuff,
Buffy sing-along.
Hey, they do something like that, I'll be there lining up. Yeah. All right. So thanks very much, Jesse. Went to a good conversation there. Let's move into some news items, lots of trailers and premiere dates and stuff. So we'll let Brent kick us off. Going back to Hawkins.
Stranger Things 5, the final season. The official trailer is here. We'll drop the link if you haven't seen it. You probably have, because everybody's seen it. But it is, of course, coming to Netflix. Volume 1 is going to come November 26th, and Volume 2 is going to drop on Christmas, so they're splitting it a little bit. The trailer just reminds me of a couple things. One, wow, these kids have grown up in the 5 seasons. You're looking at young adults here, in case where you originally were introduced to these kids as like 11, 12-year-olds. So it's crazy. And the second thing that I really noticed is just how action-packed and crazy this season seems to want to be. I don't know if it's going to be. You know how trailers are. I've said in the past, I'm not sure if it's the trailerism, where it always makes the trailer. They pick the most exciting parts in the trailer, and the rest of it's going to be kind of boring. But Stranger Things has never been boring. So I'm really looking forward to this. November 26th is coming up pretty soon. So I'm really excited to see where our characters left off. I was pleased that the trailer did remind me of a couple of the characters and where they left off. Like my favorite character is still apparently in the hospital. So it's going to be pretty cool. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, very excited. I think I've mentioned before that I've been doing a complete series rewatch here to lead up to this premiere. I'm late in season 3 here, so doing good there. But yeah, this looks very big. As you said, trailer makes it look very epic, is the word that comes to mind. Lots of fan speculation about which characters may not make it out. It's going to be a big showdown. Final season, good chance we're going to lose some of our key characters. So very exciting. we've also touched on the release plan, with day before Thanksgiving here in the U.S. and then Christmas and then the finale episode on New Year's Eve. And now they've also announced they're going to be airing it in select theaters on New Year's Day and such. So that might be one of those events that I might, if it's fairly close to me, go and see that final episode in the theaters. So, looking really good. And like you said, Brent, we're down to just 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, Kevin, you mentioned the word epic, and I had that pop into my head as well. I have high expectations for this in terms of concluding the story. And Brent, you mentioned, watching them go from tweens to young adults, and man, they really are grown up now. So I'm going to be curious to see how things, how they land the plane, I guess. But it looks really good. I'm really excited about it. Kevin, you talked about doing a whole rewatch. I'm just going to watch the most recent last episode of the prior season to put me back in the right headspace, going into it. But we were just talking about reasons to go to the movie theater, and this is a reason for me at the holidays to stay home and binge, which is probably what I'll be doing.
Yeah, it's funny too, Brent, to pick up on what you were talking about in terms of, age and how much they've all grown. I mean, season 1 dropped in 2016, so we're 9+ years, and they've also been having on the, I think it's the Still Watching Netflix YouTube channel, which is an official one from Netflix. They've had where they've shown some scenes from early on and had the cast members now commenting on some of the stuff. And that's when you really see it, literally side by side. They're watching a scene from season 1, 2016, and they're talking about it, obviously having recorded that probably in 2024, maybe 2025. So, interesting there. But, yeah, I mean, it's going to be also very interesting to see how this, split release, works for those of us as fans, and getting a chance to talk in between a little bit without it all dropping at once, and how that all works out. All right, staying in the Netflix world, we also have a link in the show notes to The Witcher's official trailer. It dropped since we last recorded, and so is the season. But if you're someone maybe who hasn't seen the season yet, follow the link in the show notes or look on YouTube for the season 4 official trailer. It's a couple minutes long. It's interesting for me now, going back and just for the sake of the podcast, rewatching the trailer, having now watched the season, and this is an accurate trailer, in the sense that, they're not doing a bait and switch or showing a lot of what wasn't there or is there. So if for some reason you're still on the fence about to watch it or how quickly to, I think the trailer does a pretty good job of letting you know what we're coming into, for how they've, mapped out this season. Next to last one, we do have a season 5 coming, which will be the final one.
Yeah, I mentioned I haven't watched the whole season yet, but I've watched the first 2 episodes, and this trailer is a good prep going into the season. It definitely is what you see is what you're going to get, and it was pretty good.
Yeah, I'm going to agree, but slightly disagree with you guys about the trailer. Yes, everything in the trailer is in there. It is a representation of all the action and adventure. And one of the nitpicks I'll have in the back porch is just the pacing. It's not spoilery, but this does not accurately depict the pacing of the season. So, if you go into it thinking it's going to be all nonstop action, it is not, of course.
Lamenting trailers. Keep that in the back of your mind, folks, for something later, maybe. How's that for a tease? All right, moving on. Wendy has got some news about something we know she's very excited for.
Yes, we've been talking about the spin-off from George R. R. Martin for HBO of A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, and we'll have a link in the show notes to the official trailer. It's a pretty meaty trailer, and it actually kind of sets up what's really going to happen, I think. Probably gives the best introduction of the two main characters, Duncan Duncan the Tall, and Aegon. And it's going to premiere on January 18th, so it's coming pretty soon as well. So this is a story that's, it's about 100 years before Game of Thrones. And it's really about the whole royal families and second sons who have to go off and make it as knights and compete in tourneys and jousts. It definitely has dragons in it, which you'll see in this clip. But to me, it will definitely appeal to folks who might be missing some Lord of the Rings type stuff or medieval jousting in general, which I'm definitely not saying that Lord of the Rings is about medieval jousting, but it's got the vibes that are similar, quest type vibe as Lord of the Rings. So yeah, I'm definitely interested to check it out. I did read the short novels that this was based on. What's my favorite? It's not bad at all. It's just, again, you have to really be into the whole medieval jousting thing, I think. Helps a lot.
I really enjoyed this trailer watching it, which is unusual for me. I mean, I watched Game of Thrones, and it's mostly because of the podcast and we wanted to talk about it. Wasn't a huge fan of Game of Thrones. It kind of skipped the next one, series that was on, that we even had a special podcast here for. But this one looks like something I might actually tune into. It just looks a little less political and a little more actiony, hopefully. I mean, but then again, it is a trailer. You never know what trailers do. They do the thing that trailers always do, so you don't know exactly what's going to happen. But yeah, January 18th, looking forward to it. HBO.
Yeah, I'm in a similar spot to Brent in terms of my interest level in Game of Thrones, but this trailer, I guess, did its job because I got more interested as far as potentially watching this for those reasons. So I won't say I'm definitely going to be on board right on day one, but I am much more open to potentially starting to watch this one and see. And, it'll be beginning of the year after the holidays, kind of past Stranger Things and else, and might be a perfect fit for a nice show to catch up on there.
Yeah, for me, I'm definitely going to check it out. I'm not sure if our our small council, will be talking about it or not. I have to check in with the other maesters. We will be definitely talking about House of the Dragon when it comes back for its next season, which will be after Night of the Seven Kingdoms. But you guys might like the story. It's definitely different from Game of Thrones.
Cool.
All right. We're going to let Brent talk a little bit about some trailer for new Star Trek series we've touched on before.
Yeah, I think this ties in to something we're going to hear about a little later. I don't want to spoil it from Kevin in his tuner minute, but we saw an original teaser for this, and we were all kind of like, let's wait for the real trailer. I think this trailer did a good job. I was really concerned that this was just going to be an interpersonal drama, all about who's having sex with who, that sort of thing that really just does not interest me, especially in a sci-fi show. But this gave me a little bit more. Told me that there is a story, there is an overall, kind of an arc, if you will, for it. The classroom the academy is on a ship. So they're actually going to use that mechanism to allow cadets and characters and crew members to actually go on missions and things and have some adventures and stuff, which is good. The trailer did tend to focus a little bit towards the second or third of it on interpersonal relationships and even people having sex. So I'm like, okay. Because I don't want, to me, Star Trek is not about really all about the relationships. It's all about the adventures. It's about the characters, but it's about the adventures. And I'm just still a little concerned, but I'm a little more optimistic now after seeing this trailer. So I'm glad that they gave us this, because it pushed me over the edge from I have no interest in this to I'll check it out. It's going to be January 15th on Paramount Plus.
Yeah, arriving around the same time as the A Night of Seven Kingdoms too. So good timing, I think, there, January. Yeah, I was very much, when we first talked about the teaser, like, okay, Kev, hold your thoughts. Don't make a judgment, because it didn't look all that interesting from the teaser. But this one did a better job, while not, having the same concerns there. But Holly Hunter, love her. Some other actors to enjoy, that you've probably seen. Paul Giamatti and some others. So, I am very much looking forward to it and hoping it has all the parts of Star Trek that I very much want to see. So we're still a couple months away as we record this, but like I said, since we'll be after the first of the year, it'd be a good time, hopefully settle into it. And, so the trailer did its job that way as far as getting me more interested.
Yeah, this trailer definitely got me more interested. That teaser we'd had before, which almost sounded like the introduction or something, that it didn't give me much of an impression. I like the idea, and we have proof that they're going to be in space and they're going to have space adventures. They're not just going to be sitting in a school in San Francisco. I love Holly Hunter, and she looked very comfortable in the chair and everywhere else. So I like that a lot. It looks like it's going to have some, a little bit of humor, which I appreciate. I love Paul Giamatti. I like that there's a whole kind of backstory and tension that they're setting up related to that one cadet and Holly Hunter with him as well. I know what you mean, Brent, about not wanting to watch a soap opera with the interpersonal relationships, but I'm okay if we have some. We have some in Strange New Worlds, and I'm okay with that. So hopefully they'll balance it out properly. But I'm looking forward to this, and I'm excited that it's coming in January, which is really pretty soon.
Yeah, this last season of Strange New Worlds was borderline too much relationships and soap opera for me, but they kept it from falling over the edge.
All right, next item I've got link in the show notes, folks, for the upcoming Marvel show Wonder Man. Now, this is something I'm going to show my lack of knowledge of that universe, because I have no idea who this character is, and I got to tell you, after watching the trailer, I'm still not sure. So this is an interesting one. I do have it noted. It's going to be premiering on in late January, 27th, as we've talked the last couple of trailers. We're going to have a busy January there, which is good. But I don't know. I watched the trailer, and I'm not sure what this show is going to be or if I'm going to like it, but I got to say I'm at least curious what it is now. So they've done a job in that sense of getting me interested enough to check it out, see.
I'm right there with you, Kevin. I was expecting to see, what is Wonder Man's superpower? Does he even have any? Because I don't think I saw any superpowers in this trailer. It looked like they were casting a character for a movie. So we'll see what the twist is as we go along. However, I love Ben Kingsley, so I'm definitely intrigued to see who he is in the story. He just has a twinkle in his eye. He lights up the screen for me, so I will definitely be checking it out.
I'm actually right with you guys for the very first time. I know nothing about this character. The trailer does look kind of interesting because, as you said, Wendy, a lot of great actors. And they're doing some continuity to some of the universe already, as we got with Ben Kingsley, for instance. But I literally know nothing. I don't know if this is a fake superhero, a real superhero. I don't get it. I mean, they're doing a show. So apparently this Wonder Man was a TV show in the MCU. And they're just, I'm confused. I don't know what's going on. So I am going to be along for the ride with everybody else. And I'm resisting the urge to dive in and do some research on Wonder Man, which I have done with a couple of other Marvel things that I wasn't really familiar with. But I kind of want to just experience this one and see where it goes.
Mike, I feel a lot better knowing I didn't miss something there. So I guess in that sense, done a good job now getting me just intrigued about what it is. All right, next up, One Piece. Wendy's got some news about that one.
Yes, One Piece on Netflix is coming back for season 2. It's going to come back on Tuesday, March 10th. And I did not watch season 1, but season 2 is described as setting sail for the extraordinary Grand Line, which is supposed to be a particular area of the sea that's known for danger and wonder. And that's about all I can tell you. March is kind of a little bit far away for me to be thinking ahead about this, but I did not watch season 1. I'm probably not going to watch season 2.
I also did not watch season 1, but people on Discord have been saying it's a fun show. So I know Kevin has penciled it in on his list, and it might be something that I check out as season 2 drops, just to, maybe I get a little primer on season 1 and then watch season 2 just to see if I like it. Because it looks like it should be something I might enjoy, but it's based on an IP, an anime IP that I'm not familiar with, so I kind of resisted watching it, I guess. But like I said, people on Discord, our listeners and other fellow fans on Discord are saying it's fun, so maybe.
Also, I forgot to mention, it's already been renewed for season 2. Or 3.
I hope it's been renewed for season 2, yeah. That's cool. That just means, as you know, they ordered 2 seasons at once, as usual.
Yep, and you hit the nail on the head as far as me penciling in watching this. I was kind of glad when I saw this announcement that it's not till March, still plenty of time to kind of get past some bigger stuff that I know I have on my viewing calendar for the rest of 2024. So I'm hoping to actually watch at least a couple of the episodes, season 1, for all the reasons we've all said. There's plenty of positive thoughts on it on our Discord and my social circles from the look of the trailers, like it might be fun. So I think it's worth me trying to give it a shot before season 2 comes around. So I'm kind of glad I didn't put it in that busy January timeline or something, that I wouldn't have had the time to get to it.
Yeah, that would definitely be a deal breaker for me, is where it falls amongst other things. So if you guys really like it and start talking it up and things are light, I might dip a toe in.
Stay tuned, as they say. All right, next, Brent's going to talk a little bit about Doctor Who and Disney Plus.
Yes, we've gotten some news. Now, this is news that is not wholly unexpected, folks. Disney has been complete jerks and kept the BBC hanging until the very last moment on any potential negotiations or contract terms or limits. Have decided that they don't want anything to do with Doctor Who anymore, so they're dropping out of their partnership. The 2 seasons we got of the new Doctor Who with Ncuti Gatwa and The War Between the Land and the Sea, which is the other series coming up pretty soon in the Doctor Who universe, are all we're going to get on Disney. And latest from Disney Plus Disney has reported that the shows will continue to be on Disney. The stuff that's already been produced, they don't have any plans to take it down. That may mean you can't see it anywhere else when the BBC finally potentially shops around the distribution rights somewhere else. The BBC has also, for many weeks, if not months now, been telling fans publicly and saying officially, don't worry if Disney doesn't renew it, we're still going to make Doctor Who. If need be, they'll make it just with their own money for their own network, like it used to be back in the David Tennant days in the beginning, when it was just on the BBC, and then people had to find it somehow, and then eventually it made its way onto streaming services. So they will continue to make it regardless. It's a big cash cow for them, so they're not going to stop. There's also rumors, but from credible sources out there, that Russell T. Davies is going to leave the show after the Christmas special that's going to air in 2026. So basically a year from now. There's no official word on that, but it comes from a source that a number of Doctor Who reporting outlets, including Who Culture, which is where I got it from, find credible, that source. So there's a high probability that he is going to leave at the end of 2026, and no word on who might replace him. So it looks like Doctor Who is going through yet another bit of an evolution, but it's going to continue, and I find that good. I hope that it is past the road bumps and hiccups that the last few seasons have had, and it'll get back on course.
Yeah, from the business side, from a, shall we say, a lazy, so to speak, TV viewer, it was nice having it on a streaming service I already was paying for and had, so forth. Access to, shall we say, cable TV is somewhat limited for many of us, including me. So I'm wondering where it might be when they figure something out, but that's down the line. I'm just wait to see, because it's certainly something I'd like to see more of. So, unfortunately, the world we've kind of moved to is everybody's the, 800-pound gorilla in the room when it comes to the big services. And, hope that doesn't negatively impact our ability to have some great content like this easily available.
Well, I'm hoping it means it'll be on BritBox, because that was my frustration in the past. It's like, if I'm going to get BritBox, it better have Doctor Who on it. And it's a little bit inconsistent whether it does or not. I'm very glad that they are reassuring everyone about the continuation of Doctor Who through, the BBC. I'm disappointed that Disney didn't do more, frankly. They didn't promote Doctor Who hardly at all. It seems like a big missed opportunity on their part, but maybe they just didn't get it.
Or more likely, maybe just nobody was watching it on Disney Plus. Only like the diehard fans.
But it's like they didn't promote it like they promote other series at all.
I get you.
I mean,
yeah. It's a fair point.
Well, we'll obviously be keeping an eye on what might be happening. All right, we've got a link in the show notes for next season, coming up, season 4 of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. They released a clip, as they're calling it. It's about 4.5 minutes long. It's, obviously from an episode, but it's, our crew on the bridge dealing with a situation. You get to see a lot of the characters we already know very well. It's obviously just plucked out of an episode to remind us, that it's going to be coming in the not too distant future, since they've already shot this, and just good to see what might be coming. I think this was dropped during New York City Comic-Con, which makes sense, a chance to promote it there. So we're still awaiting details of when we might see the next season, but if you're just jonesing to catch a little more of Strange New Worlds, by all means, check it out if you haven't.
I had remembered seeing this when it was shared close to New York City Comic-Con, and thinking, wow, the special effects are really great in this show. There's a very interesting science-y, spacey sort of situation happening with the crew in this particular clip. And as you mentioned, Kevin, we get to see everybody highlighted for a moment. So it didn't change my view or my concerns about whether or not they fixed things in terms of story and tone going into the final season. Maybe tone-wise, because this is definitely, science fiction's space situation. It's not, as we were talking earlier, it's not the love lives of the crew. Or an alternate reality type scenario. It was good to see, and I'm definitely looking forward to the last bits that we're going to get.
Yeah, I'm going to be a cheerleader and a party pooper at the same time. Cheerleader in the fact that, again, this is my favorite current Star Trek show. I'm really excited to see it come back, and it looks like a real Star Trek story that they're showing us a clip from here, which I find reassuring. Be a bit of a party pooper in saying that I'm glad we didn't see any, as you hinted at there, Wendy. Glad we didn't see any musical episodes or people in Vulcan ears when they shouldn't be, or goofy alternate universes, or people sleeping with each other. All the stuff you were hinting at there. I'm glad we didn't see any of that. We saw a Star Trek story in this episode, in this clip. I'm hoping that that's a good sign, even though the showrunners have said. In this season, they still want to do a couple of experimental episodes, but they promised that it wouldn't be as disjointed as it was last season, because last season had all the strikes and things. But I'm very excited. I'm fully on board for the show. Love this show. Can't wait for it to come back.
All right, next up, Wendy's going to talk a little bit about a new upcoming show coming to Apple TV.
Yeah, so we'll have a link in the trailer to a show named Pluribus, and it's going to premiere on November 7th, so it's coming very, very soon. And it's from the folks behind Breaking Bad, which is a show I loved. I don't recognize the main actor from anything. It looks very strange, and I'll be curious what you all's speculation was, because the first time I watched it, I was thinking it's sort of like the person trapped in an alternate world, or possibly they're in some kind of suspended animation state, and so they're unconscious. They're separated from their physical body, and they're experiencing this alternate world. Now I'm wondering if they're somehow technologically interrupted, meaning like, did they get uploaded? Are they in a virtual reality? What's going on? I'm sure Apple is trying to lean into or tap again the success that they found in Severance, because it has a vibe that's similar in terms of the weirdness, I guess I would describe it. I'm intrigued, and I'll probably be checking it out.
Intrigued is a good word for this trailer. When I first started watching it, when she was first waking up and stuff, I was thinking, like, I got vibes of The Prisoner, that old BBC series, or old British series. I don't know if it was BBC. It quickly changed into something completely different. Yeah, definitely. I mean, she's like not all alone. There's plenty of people, but it's still a pretty vacant area where she's living. But all the people seem to be there just to serve whatever is going on with her. And it's some sort of a laboratory. They're trying to experiment or figure out what's going on. And then you get the president coming on, or somebody from the White House saying, we'll try to figure out what's wrong with you so you can join us. And she's like, what the? So I don't know. Is this a supernatural thing? Is there like some sort of a supernatural event that's taken everybody somewhere but left her, and then some people stay behind to try to figure out why she didn't come with them or something? Or like you said, is she on some sort of like a holodeck and it's some sort of deep space travel or something? I really am intrigued. As you said, Wendy, the trailer did a good job of making me wonder what the heck is going on. Unfortunately, it's Apple TV Plus, which I don't have. One of the few services I don't have. So I'm going to have to depend on you guys to let me know if it's any good.
Yeah, this is something I'm going to check out. I do have Apple TV, no longer Apple TV Plus. They changed the name officially, by the way. I saw like billboard type things for it as advertisements during the World Series, but I took a look at this trailer, as you both point out, like, not sure what it is, but okay, I don't have a lot of shows on right now. I'm going to at least see what that first episode is like. So this is definitely let's see what we have and see if we stick with it. So very done a good job of making me curious. I guess we will have to see. All right, our final news item for this podcast. Brent's going to tell us a little bit about Lestat, we're all familiar with.
I'm not terribly familiar with Lestat. I've heard the name, but Anne Rice's The Vampire Lestat is coming as a series, I think, in 2026 to AMC Plus. I say I think because I don't know if it's a series or a miniseries or what. I think it's a series. This trailer, though, I'm not sure what to expect. It had a lot of gore and a lot of flashbacks. I wonder if it's going to be a really disjointed story where they're constantly flipping between timelines or different time periods, giving us a kind of a story of what happened in the past and what's going on now. And like I said, a lot of sex, gore, and flashbacks and violence in general. So I'm just looking at this going, I don't know. Am I ready for another vampire story? I kind of got vampired out after a while, and maybe it's time again. I don't know. I literally have no idea what to think about this one.
Yeah, this appears to be a look at this show. I'm not sure trailer is the right definition for it, but you described it well. I didn't have like a strong urge to want to watch it or to not watch it. It's kind of there. It's, more in the Anne Rice universe, which isn't a bad thing, but I'm not sure myself either. So this was kind of like one of those, okay, well, let's see what some other folks might say before I jump in.
Yeah, I don't have AMC. I did read some of the books from, I'm forgetting the whole series name, but it's Louis and Lestat. Interview with the Vampire is the initial one in there was a whole series. This is the character that Tom Cruise played in the movie. And he's a very interesting character, so I'm not surprised they're spinning this off. When I looked at this extended sort of first look, is how they described it, it looks really interesting. I mean, all of these shows have looked really interesting to me, but I don't have the channel. So, and I'm similar to you, Kevin. I don't know how much I need to be watching vampire stuff right now. I definitely am not feeling a hole or a void for it. But I know a lot of people who really enjoy these shows. So I'm sure it's pretty good. It looks good. And the characters look very interesting to me in this trailer. My problem is the story. I'm not sure I want more of this story because it's kind of like The Walking Dead in that they're passing through time. If you like history, there's always things that they're doing that are relevant to the historical time period. But ultimately, it's about this very dysfunctional sort of family who are always kind of doing gruesome things in order to feed and stuff and stay alive. So I'm interested, but I'm not interested enough that I'm gonna make changes to my current subscriptions in order to watch it. But if they do something where maybe a season is crossed over, shall we say, on Hulu or something, I'll probably check it out, or Amazon.
All right. Well, finishing up here, before we get to our back porch, we've got a Tuner Minute. This is one that I recorded entitled In the Dark. When it comes to deciding whether or not to give a new show a chance, I know the three of us, certainly in our discussions on the podcast, and from many of you in comments I've seen, will say, yeah, it's good to get some early info, but I got to see that first trailer. And naturally, in today's world where everything is super hyped and overhyped and we've got lots of info, that makes a lot of sense. But my question for you today is, let's say there was a scenario where, for whatever reason, there wasn't going to be a trailer ahead of time. Would you be willing to give a show a chance and watch that whole first episode without having to wait for some recommendations from friends or reviewers? Or how would you approach a situation like that?
Well, I've had a situation fairly similar, although I did get a trailer, but it literally came with, this was an example of Netflix. I'm pretty sure it was Netflix, where I watched a non-genre series. I want to say it was called The Woman in Room 9 or something like that. It was starred Keira Knightley, and it showed up in the list. I watched the brief 1-minute trailer, and then I was like, all right, I'll give it a try. I didn't go around looking for anything more than that. I don't know if that violates your construct, Kevin, but that's as close as I am going to go to just sort of wandering around and finding something and trying it out without having someone recommend something to me or having seen a couple of minutes or read something about it. I definitely rely a lot on people I trust recommendations. It starring Keira Knightley was definitely a plus because that was probably the reason I watched the trailer in the first place. So your question about would I just watch something without knowing anything about it, I might, if it's either an actor or a director, showrunner that I really like, I might give it the benefit of the doubt and just dive in too.
Well, unless I was completely, absolutely, totally bored, I wouldn't watch something without knowing anything about it. But I don't think that was your question, Kevin. I think your question was if there just was no trailer. So that presumes you have the ability to know what the show's about or who's in it, but you just never saw a trailer. And the answer to that is absolutely yes. I definitely would. I could. It depends on what I did find out about it. If I found out it was, for instance, a science fiction time travel show, but there's no trailer, I'll check it out. I'll watch the first episode. It's my favorite subgenre. I'll watch it. If I found out, like Wendy was hinting at, that there are some actors in it that I really love, I might check it out and watch the first episode. I can't promise you. You kind of said watch the first episode completely. I can't promise that. I might watch the first part of the episode and go, nope, not for me. But yeah, if the question really is, could you bring yourself to watch a show or give a show a try if you couldn't see a trailer for it? Then yeah, absolutely. It depends on what I know about it, but yeah, I could do it without a trailer.
And it's really fascinating to me just hearing the two of you touch on it, because this was kind of inspired by the fact a little bit that we're always talking about having to see that trailer. And in today's world, it's just gone. They're everywhere. But I saw, as I talked briefly back when we brought up the Pluribus one, I had no idea that thing was coming. And I first saw just like I said, I don't want to call them billboards, but if you will, the ads that show up, in baseball games behind home plate. They all digitally put them on there. And it had this one there, and I'm like, I have no idea what that is. And then like one of the announcers read like a line and a half, and it was a little bit about what we talked about, this idea of what's going on. And I'm like, would I try that out without even watching the trailer? Now, no, I didn't even honor my own 200 minute. I went and found the trailer because we were going to talk about it. But it got me thinking, and I know, like from previous conversations, a lot of times Wendy will say if it's got a certain actor she really enjoys, she'll at least give something to try. And I threw in that bit about watching the whole episode because I know you, Brent, and I know you will probably at least try something. But no, if it doesn't do anything for you, you're not going to stick the whole one for yourself. So it just got me kind of thinking about this, and I wondered, some of the listeners, if we jump into that world, you can't get a trailer, would you just do a lot more digging maybe to go read, about it? But that idea that you can't get the information where someone has seen it, be a review or a friend, nowadays with so much to choose from, are you willing to go out on that limb for 42 minutes? You too, Kevin. If, not just Wendy, but if there's a star from one of your favorite shows in something, you're going to watch it. You are. Yeah. That's the saying, when and I'm thinking back now many years, Holly Hunter. I've always loved her as an actress from movies for many years. And when she was in the genre show we had, goodness, now I'm blanking on his name. The one about the angel, the guy who was supposedly the angel.
Oh, yeah.
Cop.
Yeah.
I'm forgetting the name.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was really good.
But that was a really good show. But I love her. She's just intense, or can be. So, but yeah, that's an example of where that's just one actor, actress that I would, even if it was a non-genre, I'd probably at least look at a little bit of it to see. So yeah, we all, and like you said, time travel story, Brent, you don't need to hear anything else. You're going to be there. We've all got that flip the switch that makes us want to try something. So I figured it'd be fun to talk about a no trailer scenario. So let us know what you think, folks. Feel free on our Discord or email, voicemail, add to the conversation. We'd love to hear from you. All right. At this point, though, we're going to get ready. Let's go over to the back porch. We got several shows to talk about on this episode.
Today we talk about Gen V, Peacemaker, The Witcher, Harley Quinn, and Solar Opposites.
All right, kicking off the back porch this week on this episode, we've got the last several episodes of the season for Gen V, and Brent's going to get us started.
Yeah, and since I didn't watch any of this before this podcast, I'm probably going to touch on a lot of the season, but just really generally, I'm not going to go into a lot of details about plot or anything, but I overall really enjoyed this. There were some slow parts. So this is a show that I've always watched in the second monitor, as it were. Not necessarily in the background. A lot of times I'm paying, complete attention to it. But it's always a second monitor show to me. I watch on my computer while I'm doing other work. But I was pleasantly surprised. I'm not a big fan of, like I've said many times here, shows that focus on interpersonal relationships, but this show didn't. It used to. There were seasons where it would really focus on that, but this season it didn't really focus on it. It had it. Don't get me wrong. The Emma's little love relationship that she developed there towards the very end, when as far as just kissing a guy. But Jordan and Marie and all of that. it touched on that stuff. It didn't dwell on it. So I think it did it really well. I enjoyed it. I liked actually having empathy for Kate, which I never had before. I enjoyed how they flipped her around so that she became a hero, really, and one of the team. I love the tie-ins with the boys. We got Black Noir, we got A-Train, of course we got Starlight. We got also, what's her name? Sister Sage in here as well. Oh, and we also got, in previous episodes, Firecracker. So I love the tie-ins. We had those in previous seasons. So that was pretty cool. Seeing polarity and the evolution of Marie's powers and how she was able to heal the damage that his powers were doing to him, that it wasn't really clear if she prevented any future damage or if she just reset him, basically, so that he can use his powers now, but he'll still slowly get damaged over time if he uses them. But it was great. I love the ending when he's, said that he came in to fight what he believed was Dean Cypher, who turned out to be just a puppet. And he thought it would be a suicide mission. And then at the end, he realized it's not, and he's going to live on and fight the good fight, in the memory of his son and stuff. So that was pretty cool. I love how our team is now, our core team, including Kate, which again blows my mind, are part of the rebellion, the resistance, whatever you want to call them now. And I love how they're excited when, as I mentioned, how A-Train comes zipping up, another A-lister, another one of the 7, an initial 7. That's pretty cool. I love Emma, the character. One of the things about this show is that I really do I really do latch on to a number of these characters. I really dug it. I want to say there's one thing that, and I'll turn it over to you guys after this, but I want to say that there's one thing that, I don't know if I just feel proud of myself for seeing it, or if I'm complaining that the writers did a bad job of hiding it, or maybe they didn't want to hide it. But after in the second episode where we saw Dean Cypher taking care of the old burn guy, I came to the conclusion pretty early on that the burned guy is the one in control, and he's puppet mastering Dean Cypher. And then they didn't reveal that until the very end. It was supposed to come as a surprise, I think, but it became clear to me that was what was going on. I think it's just because of how much he took care of this guy, and how once we determined that the burn guy was actually Godolkin and couldn't possibly be his father, and we don't think, it just dawned on me that he's doing this stuff, but he seems to be such a cruel person. I don't know why he's doing it. The only reason he'd be doing it is if that guy is making him do it. So I just, in my brain, just clicked that, he's actually doing it. So, I think it was kind of a cruel trick that Marie, healed Godolkin, and then Godolkin revealed himself to be the one actually in charge, and then was able to become the big bad. And I thought, that he was going to carry on into the next season of The Boys as a big bad, because one of his goals was to control, Homelander, if not kill Homelander. Right, and he figured if he could control Marie, who was another one of the same batch as Homelander, that he could do that. So I thought he would continue on. Pleasantly surprised that the show decided not to do that. The show decided to have Marie completely destroy him and pop his head off, and in the final episode. So, I kind of dug it. It was a fun season for me. Like I said, some parts were a little slow, but I think the pacing overall was pretty good, and I enjoyed where it turned up. I can't wait to see where these characters go next.
Yeah, for me, I was very pleasantly surprised with how engaged, and very much each week looking forward to the episodes I was. This group, as you described, which is the case, I'm being like the resistance, and the fact they were all working together to try to get something done, and there was a bit of a mystery around a little bit of it, as you pointed out, with why the Dean was acting as he did, and what was really going on. Did that reveal? I mean, the Boys I enjoyed, but kind of soured on the more it just became totally over the top, and certainly while the violence, especially in this, is very, very high. They were characters that I wanted to see what was going to happen to them, how they were each, very flawed, very, gone through hell, all of them to some degree. We're going to deal with that and try to come together in a group. And sometimes it worked well, sometimes it didn't, but they all kind of found a way to make it work. So I was very interested in all the different storylines that, like you said, they didn't go overboard on relationship side of it. There was several of those I thought very well interwoven to the bigger story. So I cared about the relationship and the individual character and what was happening to each of the people there. So they did a really good job with that, interweaving it in. I don't know where they're going from here, if they're going to merge, so to speak, into a final season of what's happening in this universe or what. I don't know, but I think at least we got left at a very good point, and I got a very solid feeling about, the 2 seasons we've had for Gen V.
Yeah, I wasn't quite like, I can't wait for next week with this show. In fact, I kind of had to remind myself to watch it. But there are many of the characters that I really liked. I definitely liked how they handled Marie and her powers. Sometimes they make people tip over into becoming the megalomaniac, and sending them dark side for them to come back. They didn't quite send her there. Although I guess people might say they did when she blew up Godolkin. But I was glad that they did do that. Similar to you, Brent, I was expecting that he would have been the big bad that they would be joining forces against. So who knows, though? You have, is his name Stan? The one who wants to take back over Vought.
Yeah.
He wants to control Homelander, so I'm going to be curious if they take that body of Godolkin or do something to try to harness his powers, even though he's off the board. I really liked how they handled Emma. That character has grown in a really nice way because she's such a damaged kid. She had this almost like horrible celebrity childhood, and she really was the one who sort of rallied the troops and was a lot more of a leader in this season, which I really liked. And even with the Jordan and Marie relationships, that it wasn't too much. It was just enough. The other part I really did like, and Brent mentioned it, was Andre's death. They didn't just forget about that. That was propelling a lot of the story, and it had a nice resolution for his father. So I liked how they handled that part of the story as well. And I'm hoping they just merge it with the boys now that they're basically been called up to help with Starlighter. It feels like that's sort of the natural progression we should go in. And I'm not sure how much there could be left if we just focused back on school for them. That wouldn't just sort of be repeating what we had. I mean, I guess the question is, what is even the state of the school now that you have the Cypher characters gone? They kind of halfway destroyed the school anyway. Although I guess rebuilding could be part of that arc. But it was good. I liked it.
Yeah, as they mentioned in dialogue in the final episode, there's no coming back to the school. So, yeah, I think they're going to merge them into the boys. I agree. The only ding I would have on that, and the only downside to that, is there's no way they can be lead characters in the boys. Maybe Marie, considering she's supposedly at the same power level as Homelander, but the others that I really like a lot, including Emma, just, they can't be. There's just too many big players in that show. I was surprised, very surprised, when our gang, or Scooby Gang, whatever you want to call them, were able to sneak into the final battle by riding inside that guy's butt. I was surprised there weren't any, snide remarks, especially coming from Emma as they popped out, but they didn't say anything. They just popped out and went to work.
Yeah, that was a good tactic and totally perfect use of in-universe odd powers that they've got at the school. So, yeah, and the concern about being able to level up with the caliber of what's in the boys. It's a difficult balance. So that's why I'm very curious how they're going to tackle it. All right, the next show that had its recent season finale we want to touch on is going to be Peacemaker. This was season 2. And kind of a little bit like Brent, just kind of a broad stroke of looking at the season, because I'm not even sure we've talked much about it earlier in the season on the podcast here. For me, I was definitely disappointed in probably about the first half of the season. I mean, this is such a nutty group of a Scooby Gang, as we like to use that phrase, that I really got into by the end of season 1, that it felt like, for me at least, in the first 3-4 episodes, everybody was just sidelined. It was just mopey Chris, mopey Peacemaker, discovers the other alternative universe and gets interested in it naturally. And it just wasn't really, for me, I felt like going anywhere. It was kind of okay. But by the second half, once it's revealed what that other universe is like and the problems there and how they have to deal with it, I think they cranked it up quite a bit to really enjoying the last 3 or 4 episodes quite a bit here. It got them all trying to work on something, and the lines, I thought the humor got sharper and the craziness of what's happening really came out. So I definitely think we finished strong. I much like with some Marvel stuff, I don't know what the plan is in DC, whether some of these characters or Peacemaker at least is going to end up in the film side, or we're going to get a season 3 at all. I don't know. I haven't seen any info there. I mean, I'd love to see these nuts all together again for another season and maybe not spend as long getting to the big reveal, the big issue, because, it's just a total nut job set that really works and has some heart that I really am surprised is in there, both in season 1 and certainly the second half of season 2. So, definitely a thumbs up by the end, but maybe others enjoyed it a little more earlier on than I did.
Yeah, no, I had a similar kind of reaction, which is why overall I only rated it a watch it soon. I don't think I rated it as high as you two did. Because I was like, where's this going? And then once they got into the alternate universe, things clicked a bit better. The one thing I just find very appealing is how John Cena plays this character, because it would be really easy for this character to be a caricature, and very two-dimensional, and he just plays it so well. You get the vulnerability of the character, the humor, the dysfunction. He just does a really, really good job. And also I love that how they changed up the dance number for the credits. And I also really loved the finale, or maybe it was the episode before the finale, when they had to go convince him, you need to stop, you need to stop trying to protect us all, because he thinks, everybody gets killed because of him, and he has this whole complex from his brother. And I just thought it was great to see the quote Scooby Gang, rally around him, and there's an element of surprise in this, the way that they interact for me all the time. It's different from, like, it's not just banter. There's something about it that's very unique that I definitely enjoy. And we'll see what happens now. He's got this Keith out there that I'm assuming isn't just going to stay on the other side. But similar to you, Kevin, I don't know the bigger picture of how, I think it's called Checkmate is the organization that they're going off to become part of. I'm not sure how that squares up with the Suicide Squad and other things in the DC universe. I'm just not deep into it like that. So would love to see some more of them in the future, either on the big screen or I mean, I would happily see another season, especially if it was only, 7 or 8 episodes, to see more of everybody.
Yeah, I'm also going to chime in that John Cena does an amazing job for, somebody a lot of people didn't give him credit for his ability, his intelligence and ability to be an actor. He's amazing. He does a great job. I love the tie-in at the end to the Superman movie, the new Superman movie. A lot of the characters, including Lex and Lex's, goons, and the whole portals that he was using in that movie as well for the alternate dimensions, being tied into this one, it was really cool. It really lets you understand that Peacemaker is in the new DC universe, the new James Gunn DC universe. So I thought that was really cool. Yeah, I found it hilarious, just as the show wanted me to, and just as the characters around him were reacting, although they were more reacting in dismay and complete shock, but more shaking their head, that he spent all that time in that alternate world not realizing it was a Nazi world. all these symbols of all of that stuff all around, and he's like, how could you not notice that? This big sign on the wall or a big symbol on the wall. He's like, oh, I didn't see that. All this stuff, because he was just so focused on the happiness he had there, how his brother was alive, his father was alive, he had the girl he wanted. He was just completely blind to the rest of it. I thought it was actually kind of hilarious. Sad and hilarious at the same time. But yeah, the first part of the season, I agree with you guys. Too much mopey Peacemaker, too much Peacemaker upset with himself and all depressed and trying to escape. Some people do it through drugs or whatever, but he's doing it through going through the door to another dimension. So that part dragged on a little too long, but once it started kicking at the end, I thought it did a really good job. I love how everybody was opposite in the other dimension, except Vigilante. Vigilante apparently is really neutral because he's exactly the same in both universes. But how Peacemaker was a real dick in the alternate universe. His father was a good guy in the alternate universe, and actually did want to make things better for people and did want to save the team and send them back and everything. Although, the rest of Peacemaker's team didn't know that, so they ended up killing him. It was really cool, really well done towards the end. I enjoyed this season. It was a great adventure. I think it could have been done in 2 hours. I think they could have made a movie out of it instead of all season, but I thought it was pretty cool.
All right, next up, we're going to talk about season 4 of The Witcher, and we're letting Wendy start it off.
Yeah, so I'm going to start it off, but you guys are going to carry it further forward because I've only seen the first 2 episodes, but I don't mind hearing about everything that happened. I went into this skeptical about Liam Hemsworth replacing Henry Cavill. And I got to say, they made a smart decision to have, at least in the first 2 episodes, most of what he's doing is fighting and, a bit of talking about how mopey he is and how committed he is to finding Ciri and stuff. He's fine. It's not like I'm sitting here wishing I was watching the other Geralt. The having him basically be on the quest now to find Ciri after he got healed up, that all works. I'm actually more interested from an overall story perspective. The story that has my interest the most is Yennefer, because she's realized that they need to form their own army, and she's on a quest to put together the mage army that can fight Ciri's dad. And Ciri's dad has just figured out, this isn't his actual daughter. So going to be curious to see how that all gets handled. Typical Witcher, there's a lot of political stuff going on between all the mages as well as is it Nilfgaard's, Ciri's father, and, his people, and what's going to happen with this secret now, because he needs actual Ciri with her real powers, for his bigger plan. So like I said, I've only seen the first 2 episodes, but I like where it's going. And as I mentioned, I expected this from the trailer, that they were going to have our trio separated. Hopefully they weren't going to be separated past maybe the 3rd or 4th episode, but we'll see. I'm also expecting a very emotional reunion, whenever they do get back together, because they all think everybody else is dead. So that will be really interesting. I hope. But we'll see. So 2 episodes in, I'm enjoying it and I'm optimistic. So I'm going to be interested to hear what more you guys have to add.
Well, I'm going to chime in and say that Hemsworth did a great job. And the reason I say that is because I only ever saw Geralt. I didn't see one actor or another. I think he embodied the character super well. It didn't hurt that throughout the season, whenever they had a flashback to previous seasons, they reshot that scene with Hemsworth, which helped reinforce that he is Geralt. So I never saw another face, basically. But his face is close enough that my brain just like, okay, yeah, Geralt. I've always been that way too. I've never really watched a show and thought, this is the actor. I've always watched a show and say, this is the character. So it worked for me. I enjoyed, I don't think there was political stuff, but there wasn't much. This is a show that I used to watch dual monitor, but this season I just watched the whole thing glued to it. So, they would bring up a political thing, but then they get over it in a beat and go on, which I love. Thank you for that kind of, just glossing over that stuff, and moving on. I really appreciated that. I'm fascinated by some of the characters, and I wonder what Kevin's thoughts are. First of all, the rats. I mentioned that I have no interest in the rats. They're not very interesting to me, the group that Ciri falls into. Even her love interest is interesting. She's interesting, but I just have no attachment to them, never did. And am I a bad person for saying that I actually did not mind and thought it was a good choice that they killed them all off at the end? In fact, beheading Ciri's girlfriend right in front of her, after she was already dead, of course, but still cutting her head off, was kind of gruesome. We didn't see most of that, but she did. And again, I'd like to get Kevin's thought on this too, but once we were introduced to this guy who's killing the Witchers, and then I realized that, somebody's going to face him, and it became pretty clear as the season progressed that it was going to be Ciri at first who was going to have to face him because he was coming after Ciri. I was thinking to myself, he's killed full-fledged Witchers, Ciri. You went through the training, but you never really were a full-fledged, seasoned, veteran Witcher. Why do you think you stand a chance? And sure enough, she lost. And he didn't kill her, because I think he's been told, I believe, to bring her back alive. So he's going to bring her back alive. But I'm looking forward to when he tries to fight Geralt, because I don't think he's going to win that one. I think Geralt's going to kick his butt. I think even Geralt's quote unquote father, the head of the Witchers who ended up dying heroically, I think he would have killed that guy too. But I guess we'll never know about that one because that he died defending the mages and the sorcerers and sorceresses and all of those people. I dug it. Like I said, that was Geralt to me. Never even questioned it. Enjoyed the story of all of the main characters and where they went. The only thing I didn't really find that great was the rat stuff. I could have done without it. I wish Ciri had moved on a lot sooner than she did.
Yeah, this was a really interesting viewing for me, and I think I'm going to have to plan to rewatch it, but because, as you said, I mean, The Witcher, the first couple of seasons, I loved it. I mean, it was stuff I rewatched and all. Season 3 I enjoyed, but it went down a little bit. But this year, and because of so many other real life things, it was a couple years between seasons. We had the new lead, and I was like, I don't know. And then we saw the trailer. And I'm like, oh, looks like they're keeping the stories separate. And I really enjoyed the three of them, their dynamic. So coming into it, there was a bit of a, I don't know if I'm going to like this, and not wanting to get hurt. You know, wasn't sure I wanted to go all back in on it. But for some of the same reasons you laid out, it was like, man, this worked, even though I thought some of it might not. You know, the fact that they kept them separate, you know, it's not how I would have picked it, but it still worked, because I think all of them had major things happening that they had to work with. And as you said, too, about some of the political stuff, which can get a little, I'm not paying a lot of attention to which army is going after which one and so forth, but they didn't dwell on it. It was part of the story. It came up. Things happened. We moved on. That was good storytelling that way. I like the new traveling group with Geralt, even though he doesn't usually travel with them, from the gnomes to everything else, from, you know, Lawrence Fishburne as Regis, the vampire. That was interesting. You know, the fact Cahir is kind of on a redemption arc, and he joined them even though Geralt didn't want to let him in. So it was interesting, you know. It was slow in points. There's an entire episode with everybody kind of talking around the campfire about their backstories. I mean, that's one of those, do we really need it? But I kind of was interested in what was happening. And it didn't bother me that way. So it worked. Was it as exciting maybe as some previous seasons? No, there weren't as many monsters, I don't think. There were a couple of really good action scenes, though. The fight on the bridge, the mage showdown with Volgefortz and all, and, you know, some very cool stuff. So the actiony stuff, the visuals that they did was pretty cool. It just wasn't as much of it, I didn't think, as in previous seasons, but that was okay, because I was on board for where we were kind of going. So it definitely surprised me in a good way, you know, that I enjoyed it. The rats, like you said, yeah, they weren't that interesting. Not to be as on screen as much as they were. And I'm wondering, and I haven't gone digging, if the fact that they had that quote movie, if maybe that initially that was all what they put in that movie it was a rat's backstory. There was a teeny bit at the beginning that picked up from the end of episode 8 with Ciri being a prisoner of our guy that's so good at killing people, but definitely witchers. With him kind of saying, oh yeah, my first introduction to the rats. And that's what it was. It was a flashback to when that happened. It was a little interesting. Dolph Lundgren is in there as a witcher. You know, a very drunk one who isn't very good, but kind of comes around to help them before he has to show down with a bad guy witcher killer. And you're going to not have to guess too much to what happens to him. So I kind of get it. So I wasn't sure if that was all shot and then they decided it didn't test well and they pulled it out to its own movie, but it's not like you even need to really watch it. You know, maybe the first 5 minutes of it to see Ciri a little bit, but the rest of it is just their backstory. And like you said, by the end of this season, they're all dead anyway. So it wasn't bad, but it also wasn't that interesting. So there was a lot of moving parts and a lot of things that were different, obviously starting with the lead, but you know what? It worked. It really did.
I could have done completely without that campfire bottle episode.
Yeah, see, that's the one. Yeah.
It was good character development, but I didn't need it. I really didn't.
I think that was a case, too, for me. Like I've said many times, I think all of us had to a certain degree. It didn't need to be a full episode. I mean, you could have probably done a little bit of it. Might have been, you know, fit. But did we need a full episode? No. But that's what they ended up doing. But I mean, that's also because since we didn't have a big plot thing to happen at the end of this season, it's very obviously, or not very obviously, I think it potentially, depending on what we get in season 5, is a case of you really didn't have 2 seasons worth of story. You really only had 1, but you spread it out over 2.
Exactly.
However, they did a pretty good job in this season. There were those parts where you can kind of go, yeah, I'm not sure I needed that. And that's where I'm going to be interested in a rewatch. If this is a case of, okay, we got 8 episodes, but we probably only needed 4. But at least what you put on screen, I cared about.
I'm going to say they did a fair job. You said they did a pretty good job. I'm going to say just fair. I think they added too much filler. They could have maybe added more story and more plot points to make it fill out 2 years or 2 seasons instead of having these filler things.
Yep. That's why I say if I do a rewatch, I bet I'm going to kind of see that. And maybe it was just a little bit of the, and Wendy kind of touched on it, even though she's only seen a couple of episodes. They did a pretty good job out of the gate in the first couple of episodes for all those things that are like, oh, this could really make it go south, but they didn't. So I was like, this is working.
Yeah, and you talked about sort of the merry band on the road, the gnome, I don't know if you call them gnomes or dwarves, the folks that they met up with. I was like, wow, they're introducing all these, new characters, and then the rats with Siri, and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to like this, but I actually did. I actually thought they were a good, especially because we had the new actor playing the Witcher, so they were a good group for him to work off of as a character and not get badly compared to Henry Cavill, because the only one that was with them that we'd really seen in a lot of scenes with Henry Cavill was Jaskier, I think was his name. So I thought that actually worked really well. And I didn't care about the rats, but I did care that Siri had people to help her. And that was kind of whenever I've been watching their interactions, it's very much been focused on, they're not going to turn on her. They're actually going to be there as her kind of found family to help her through this period.
Yeah, there's definitely some good parts there, but as Brent did a good job kind of covering, again, didn't need as much of it as we got, I don't think. But again, I think that's definitely because they got 2 seasons to finish it out, and they didn't have 2 seasons of story.
Yep, the insert wild goose chase. Or gazing around the fire, talking to each other.
Well, from what I've read, I believe they've already finished shooting the final season, so hopefully it's not going to be like 2 years between it. So fingers crossed. All right, moving on. We got a couple of other shows we want to touch on. First one, I finished watching season 2 of Harley Quinn. I told you folks I'd give you quick updates as I move through the seasons. And any of you have seen it? No, season 2, we got, that was building up to the whole Ivy wedding with Kite Man, which totally goes sideways when, Harley and Ivy sleep together, and then everything goes from there. But it was, again, funny stuff. The writing is so sharp, the performances, the crazy stuff they bring in, season 2 had even more of it, and obviously building up to the Harley and Ivy. I won't jump ahead in my comments, but I'm already several episodes into season 3, and the 2 of them are just fantastic. So very glad I finally got around to getting into it, and should only take me a couple of months probably, since there aren't many other genre shows I'm watching here in the coming couple of months to end out the year, that I'm making good progress, and so glad I'm finally into the show.
Yay! I'm so glad you finally got around to watching this, and that it is living up to the hype.
Yeah, I'm glad you're continuing and getting into the really good stuff now. Like through season 3 starts the really good stuff, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
Looking forward to it. All right, and finishing us out, show talk. Brent's got something he wants to share.
Yeah, just briefly, I mentioned this on our Discord, and I posted a link. I was just browsing through Hulu and noticed something was being suggested to me that had an animation style very similar to Rick and Morty. And I dug a little deeper in it. It's a show called Solar Opposites. And I had never heard of this show. This show has been on the air for a long time, since 2020, since the pandemic. It just this year, just this month, in the last 15, 20 days, wrapped up its 6th and final season. And this is a show that's animated in the exact same style as Rick and Morty, made by the same people who made Rick and Morty. Some of the same voices are in here. And the only difference is that I think you'd kind of combine some Rick and Morty sort of science fiction gadgety stuff with Third Rock from the Sun. If you remember that sitcom, because the premise is basically that these 4 aliens. You'd say it's a family, but it's not really. It's 2 males, I guess. I don't think they really have genders. They don't. 2 adults that are sent with replicants of themselves who are smaller versions, so they're like children. And they are sent away from their world because, as well as a whole bunch of other teams are sent away from their world because their world is being destroyed by some sort of supernova or something. And this group lands on Earth. And you get hilarious stuff like the little one who's a little girl, because she's wearing a dress, she said, they argue at one point, and she says, I chose the female role when we landed, and this and that and that. So apparently, like I said, they have no genders. They just choose their roles to blend in on Earth. But they've got a spaceship crashed on the top of their house, and in the first couple of episodes, you get the HOA has sent a letter saying that they've changed their policy and there are no more spacecraft allowed on roofs, and they're like, they're having a tiff with the HOA. But there's an ongoing story, and this is kind of one of the most fascinating parts of this for me, at least in the early. I'm in the middle of season 3, and there's 6 seasons. I haven't finished it yet. I'm really enjoying it. It had a kind of a slow start, but one of the things that's going along here, one of the threads, is that the little quote unquote girl, or no, I think it's both of the kids. As you were, the quote-unquote kids, when they get annoyed by humans, they actually miniaturize them and stick them in a little ant farm in their room. So these miniaturized humans have developed this whole society with like warlords and like factions, and the show comes into there. And there was one episode which was all about the wall, we'll call it, which is where the small humans are. But they would come in from time to time and show little events that are happening in there and stuff. And my favorite character is actually a woman who was miniaturized and became like a rebellion leader, and was thought dead and survived and had a baby, a miniature baby, and all this stuff. And she's like an amazing character. But like I said, I'm only halfway through this show. I cannot wait to finish it. If you like Rick and Morty, I know Kevin probably won't be interested in this. It's animated, but it is sci-fi, absolutely. And if you like Rick and Morty, or if you like Third Rock from the Sun, for that matter, I think it's worth checking out, guys. It's on Hulu, all 6 seasons. And like I said, I'm going to finish it up pretty soon because I can't get enough of it.
That's cool, though. I mean, when you first mentioned this, here just between us and the crew, I just pulled it up on Hulu to see where it was. And I mean, there's multiple shows I've been watching on Hulu for years. I never once saw not that I would see an ad so much as, but they're always trying to promote new shows to you on that platform. And I never once saw anything about it. Or as you said, 5+ years it's been going around. I don't remember hearing anything about it. So just goes to show you how much content there is out there that we can't even keep an eye on it all. But very glad that you're enjoying it. And it sounds totally crazy.
Yeah, when Brent said that this was by the creators of Rick and Morty, I was like, what? I've never heard of this. And I know a lot of people that watch Rick and Morty, and they've never mentioned it. So, and even it being on Hulu, I'm surprised it never came up in like shows that are suggested for me, because I'm sure it has all the data on the shows I watch and the amount of sci-fi shows, and I can't imagine they aren't appropriately associating it with other shows. It just seemed really odd that I'd never heard of it, but I'm glad you've gotten so far into it and are recommending it. It's definitely going on to my list.
Yeah, I think you'll enjoy it. The only person from Rick and Morty who's not involved here is, I can't remember his name all of a sudden. Dan Harmon is the only one not involved. Everybody else is involved.
All right. Well, that will finish us out for this episode. It's been a few weeks since we recorded, so hopefully you folks enjoyed some conversations about shows and news. And a reminder, we've got that giveaway running, so be sure to jump over to the Discord, get an entry there if you'd like those Farscape DVDs. But a big thank you to Brent and Wendy. Been a blast talking about our shows, and to all of you for listening in. We hope you all have a great week.
Yeah, thanks everyone. We will see you soon.
Catch you next time.
We'd love to hear our listeners voice thoughts and send us feedback. Call us at 706-927-8478. Stop by our tuningintoscifitv.com blog to record a SpeakPipe message, or check the show notes and leave us comments. From the blog, you can also find links to forum discussions and subscribe to our RSS feed. Call into our Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV Skype account and leave us a message. Be social with us on our Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV Facebook page, or follow us at Tuning Into Sci-Fi on Twitter.
The theme music for Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV is by Beatnik Turtle, used with permission. You've been listening to Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV, episode 680, recorded November 3rd, 2025.